We're returning to the original concepts that the internet could have been used for. There was a glimmer of infinite potential and true freedom. The irony is that the web became more centralized. So we have huge power with a few centralized suppliers. The full circle is to have the full power on anyone's device of the original internet, and then enable everyone to have the freedom to use it as they wish. That's what we're building here.
The New Reality, a look at the future of consumer technology. With your host, Poppy Crum.
There are different ways we can think about trust and the challenges that we have to solve with regard to trust with technology. There's trust in how our data will be used and whether it will be used for us, to benefit us, the privacy of the data, but moreover, the agency of how the data is used. So building the pipeline where I have agency over what is being done, what is being shared, how it's being used. That's all about trust. It's transparency is at the core of what we have to enable, and that's where distributed ledger systems can be very powerful and very useful in the future of how our personal data is stored for us and how we assure that it's immutable.
Minima is merging distributed ledger technology with mobile devices to create a decentralized network for information transfer.
Minima is the next generation of blockchain. When blockchain was first invented over a decade ago, it was built on laptops and computers and desktops, and now we're building it on mobile.
I'm a coder, deep down that's what I do. The idea of having a pop at writing a better Bitcoin became something that I wanted to do. The truth is that I have certain issues with the current batch of coins that are out there, and I have tried to come up with a version that fixes the issues that I see.
In the web as we know today, when the service is free, then you're the product. And we feel that there is more potential for people to be than just a product.
There is a very clear direction of travel towards this idea that there are the miners, stakers, validators, the people who are actually sort of somehow financially motivated to run the network versus those of us who simply want a network to use.
We have the tools in our hands. The mobile technology already can enable an infinite amount of creative potential in people. And we don't need to rely necessarily on being the product of someone else's service, where we can be the creator of the services and the products that we wish to use and share with others.
The real reason for a blockchain is to be able to verify transactions online in a distributed way, not relying on any third parties. The ability to run a full blockchain on mobile means that every person on the network is an equal contributor to the network. So it means that it's far more distributed than it would be with current centralized blockchain solutions.
Ultimately, we believe that the best outcome for society is by the empowerment of individual people to achieve their full potential. And empowering people to be in charge of their own experiences, their own information, their own communications, their own transactions, rather than being part of a large machine that controls what you can do and what you can say. But it requires a network of connected people that is scalable and secure so that people can safely share and interact and communicate. But that can only come from having multitudes of people part of the network.
We've all got to run this piece of software. And the truth is we've all got to run the same software in the same way with the same settings. So as soon as you start to think like that, certain things become apparent. And in fact, the only device that I can expect people to have is a mobile phone, which means that if you're going to write a cryptocurrency that is truly global, that is truly enabling and empowering every single user to be an equal member of the network, it has to be mobile native. So Minima from the ground up has been written to run in full on a mobile phone.
I mean, in many ways, the only reason you should have a blockchain is for its decentralization. Otherwise, you might as well be using a SQL database with a centralized server. The whole reason for a blockchain is to be able to distribute the verification and the processing of transactions.
This is different to a wallet. This is different to the current applications that you have out there that are effectively windows into the huge system of computers that are running up in the cloud. This is not that. You're actually running the complete, total, final version of the protocol on your phone. Instead of having a 500 gigabyte database that everybody has to store, with all the information, which is important. You need to have all the data so that you can check all the data, so you can do all the clever things that we do when we're on the blockchain. Why don't we flip this on its head and say, well, the truth is, why can't you just look after the data that matters to you, and why can't I look after the data that matters to me? This is known as a proof database.
And it's a bit like having a book where you have your own page, but you also have a copy of the spine. And everyone else has their own page and a copy of the spine. That's a new version of proof of work.
Every user is an equal on the network. Every user will have the same power as everyone else on the network. So every user will be able to verify and help construct the chain of the blockchain itself, which means that everyone, even just with a small device like a mobile phone, will have equal access.
Minima takes up the space of a standard messaging app on your phone. So what we're enthused about is that moving forward, as mobile technology becomes increasingly sustainable in terms of how they are powered, that means that essentially Minima will follow that direction. And so rather than having, for instance, in Bitcoin's case, 10% using 10% of the world's power, we see Minima being 1 million times bigger than Bitcoin and 1/10 of its energy drain.
Every user mines their transaction on Minima. You're not actually looking for blocks. There's no financial reward for you to find a block. The users mine their transaction, which is provable objectively to the rest of the network. This is how we accept your transaction. Your work is actually the price you pay to use the network.
The gap that we think should be closed, and we will be closing by Minima, is the gap between what people have and what people need. We believe that everyone should control the tools in this network. We believe that any developer should be able to build on top of it using our layer 2 protocol called Maxima. And we believe that the usage of the tools should be in each individual's control. Ultimately, mobile phones are the most personal device. It's the remote control to your life. Why would you not want to use that remote control to empower yourself and all of the people that you care about?
Our first benchmark is 1 million users on the network.
And the reason why that number makes sense is because when it gets into the high hundreds of thousands of nodes, individual nodes run by individual people, the coercion required to gain control of that network is unfathomable. The largest network at the moment, I think, is Horizon with 40,000 nodes. Bitcoin and Ethereum have 12,000. The rest of the cryptos have sometimes 3. We think 1 million is the starting point.
Have you ever wondered what humanity's final form is? The only thing that I'm 100% certain about is that it must start with freedom.
When I look 5 or 10 years down the line, I see 2 versions of the web. The centralized web that we commonly use, which is brilliant and has changed the world, and the Minima version of how decentralization really can truly work. When that level of collaboration and power comes, then you have a free web and you have the web that we know today. And that's what we're creating here. You know what we were waiting for? We were waiting for the chipset technology to get as good as it is. We were waiting for the mobile technology to be that powerful and that ubiquitous. Now it is. Now we can be free.
Certainly when we look forward to the future, we can see that blockchains and the like are going to be important. We believe that Processing should happen as close to the source of the data as possible for it to be efficient and sustainable. So it is exciting to me to look at any kind of blockchains that will be relying on the vast power of the network of mobile devices out there. Any time that you can make a network more efficient and you can make the cost of performing a transaction lower, and you can provide that kind of massive connectivity and peer-to-peer, point-to-point connectivity, you will see innovations happening. So I can tell you that right now we are thinking about technology and features and the kind of performance that's going to be needed in products that are probably going to be coming to market in the 2026 timeframe. I'm actually spending a lot of time with my team looking at how to make the mobile phone far more secure, as well as obviously bringing an ever-increasing amount of performance and capability to the phone through the ARM IP. And going forward, it will be an incredibly important tool in doing what we call bridging the digital divide. We see in many emerging countries, emerging markets, that people don't have access to the internet. And the mobile phone has the potential to bridge that gap, to connect those people and help them to live a richer and better life. So going forward, we believe that data sovereignty will be an important driver of the way that software and operating systems, mobile phones are architected. And this would likely require hardware innovations and changes going forward to enforce the policies that will allow users to take control of their data and remain in control of their data and decide exactly who gets to see it. And you'll see those innovations coming in our roadmap over the coming years.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.